Alright folks, so I've got my knife blade and my guard with the milled slot in it, and as you can see I can slide the guard up relatively close to the shoulders of the blade, but it stops because it's a little bit small. That's actually a good thing, because whenever I fit a guard, I fit it extremely tight. I don't want a guard that's loose or wobbles or shakes, so I always like a press fit for my guards. So this guard slot is small, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clamp the knife blade in the vise and actually smack this guard and actually force fit it down up against these shoulders. What I'll do is I'll hit the blade, hit the guard down, I'll hit the guard and try and force it down as far as I can get it. If I can't get it all the way to the shoulder, I will knock the guard off and take a file and file the guard a little bit, see where it's rubbing, and open up that slot just a hair so that I can force it on in the next try. So go ahead and put this in the vise and try and do a nice press fit guard. Alrighty, so I've got the blade clamped at the vise. I use a piece of scrap leather to help protect the blade so I don't gouge it or scratch it with the jaws of the vise. Also use a little paper towel just to make sure that there's no piece of grit or whatever on the leather that might also scratch the blade. So I got that in there. I got it clamped to the vise really tight. Put my guard over the top of that. Then I have another little piece of leather with a slot cut in it that goes over that just to protect the face of the guard. Then I have a little plate of steel with a slot in it that goes over the top of that. Then I use this pipe here and a large hammer, and what I'll do is firmly strike my pipe and slowly knock the guard as much as I can, which right now it looks like the blade has actually started to slip in the vise instead of moving. So pull this off, take a look. You can definitely tell that I've knocked the guard upward, started to get that nice press fit. I might try and reclamp this and give it a few more hits, see if I can't force it up there some more. If I can't get it to move much more beyond this point, I'll go ahead and knock the guard back off and actually take some needle files and open up that slot just a hair and then try again. This is a slow process. It takes a while to do right, but it's definitely worth taking the time to do right. There's an easy sign of I guess a knife with poor fit and finish would be a guard that has gaps. My goal is to always produce a knife that has a seamless fit between the blade and the guard. It's one of the more challenging things to do, but I think that's something that sets a maker apart. So go ahead and take a look again. As you can see, the guard is definitely a lot further pressed up. Looking along the sides, I see no gaps. So as long as I'm able to seat this on the shoulders of the blade, we should be good. So I think I'll keep trying to force this on. If I reach a point where I can no longer get it to move, I'll back it off, give it a quick filing, and try again. But at the moment it looks like I'm still able to keep scooting it forward, so I'll keep giving it a few hits and check back in a little bit. Alright folks, I have my guard fitted to the knife blade here. I got a really nice fit, no gaps, relatively uniform line or appearance of a line that goes across. So that's exactly what we're looking for. I've checked this by holding it up to the light in many different angles, making sure that no light penetrates. That's one of the easiest ways to check to see if you actually have a gap, is to hold the blade up, you know, with a light source behind it, and kind of move all the angles around and check and make sure that you don't have any gaps. So this guard looks pretty decent from what I can tell at the moment. So the next step will be to take this guard, which I guess I should mention, you might notice these little indentations on the guard itself. Those are actually from the hydraulic press. Something I like to do as I'm fitting up the guard is place it in the hydraulic press and give the guard a little bit of a squeeze, and that just helps tighten up the fit and close up any gaps that might exist. You know, sometimes when you're filing the tang, you'll get it a little bit oblong, if you will. So just taking it over there and giving it a few presses ensures that there's no gaps there and helps make a really nice tight fit. So that's why those are there. I do that with mostly all guards I do, whether or not I see a gap. I just do it and force that material to deform and you know, give a nice tight fit. And sometimes, you know, when I actually make my tangs, they're actually tapered, so they decrease in thickness as they go. So up at the shoulders will be one thickness, and back here will be a separate thickness. So when I place that in the press and press it down, it actually forces the guard slot into that kind of tapered cross section as well, and that just helps keep a nice tight fit with everything. So the next step will be to start roughing out the guard shape. I'll go ahead and kind of do a hand sketch of what I want the guard to look like with a Sharpie, and knock the guard off and take it to the bandsaw and start trimming away some of the excess material, and then take it to the grinder and start knocking off some more. Okay folks, I've done a really rough kind of crude sketch of kind of the outline of what I want the guard to look like. This is a decent bit oversized of what I actually want the guard to be, and I'm going to kind of stay on the outside of those lines. I'll make a final pattern after I get everything roughed out and make sure that everything will be symmetrical on the guard. But for the moment, just to knock off some of this and to start aiding with the fit-up process, I do like to go ahead and knock off this extra material. So I'll go ahead and trim this off on the saw, and then do a little bit of cleanup and rough grinding work on the grinder. Alright folks, I thought I would take this time to make an important safety note. Always, whenever using a bandsaw or a saw of any kind, be sure and use a push stick of some sort to keep your hands clear. I found that a crescent wrench, you know, an old, I'm sorry, not a crescent wrench, but an old, you know, combination wrench or open-ended wrench actually works quite well for a push stick. You know, you can get a wrench really cheap, you know, lots of different sizes to choose from. I find that it grabs pieces of metal pretty decently and keeps your hands clear. Now the reason I mention this is because while cutting out that guard, I forgot to use a push stick. Now typically, you know, it was always my practice and habit to always have, you know, one of these wrenches sitting on the saw or by the saw at all times, so that whenever I went to cut something, I would have it handy and ready to do so. Well, throughout the moving process and not having used any of my tools or equipment in about 6 months, I forgot completely about, you know, the wrench I used for push sticks, and I started cutting that guard. Was focused on, you know, making the video and thinking about other things, got distracted, had my hand right in the way, and when I ended up cutting through the material, I slipped and zapped the end of my finger there through the fingernail on the saw blade. Now I am extremely fortunate in the fact that this is a metal cutting bandsaw and it moves quite slowly, so it didn't really penetrate much into the finger. It actually looks worse than what it is. It pretty much just went through the fingernail and into a little bit of the flesh underneath, but nothing beyond that. However, had this been a wood cutting bandsaw or traveling at a higher rate of speed, I very easily could have lost the end of my finger. So, you know, this is the first time I've ever cut myself on a saw, but that just goes to show that even you know, people who are extremely experienced with pieces of equipment and tools, and people who are generally very safe when using their tools, it only takes once. It only takes that one forgetful time that you forget to use this. It only takes you know, that one minor distraction, and you can injure yourself quite badly. Like I said, I'm extremely lucky that this was not worse. So I just thought, you know, I would take the time out to share this important lesson with everyone else. You know, some people, you know, might be embarrassed and say, well, I'm not going to put this in the video, I'm not going to show it, or you know, I'll edit it out or whatever. But again, I thought this was extremely important, you know, that it's a very important lesson that others can learn. So hopefully, you know, these types of mistakes and these types of accidents can be prevented with other people, and kind of learn from my lapse of judgment. So again, always use some sort of push stick or hands-off tool when using a bandsaw. Keep your hands completely clear. You know, even if you're cutting a piece of long stock and you have your hands back far away from the blade, never ever leave, or never ever place your fingers in the path of the blade. You know, if you slip and fall forward, if your hands, any part of them, catch this blade, it's going to chew them up pretty badly. If it's a faster moving bandsaw, you know, all it would take is just a quick, and you've lost the end of your finger. I would very much like to keep all of my fingers for the rest of my life. Same thing with my eyes and my hearing. I'm very much into safety in the shop. I don't go in the shop unless I have my safety glasses on. I don't run any equipment without hearing protection. You know, most of the video, I know you folks haven't been able to see me because I've been focusing on work, but you know, I have a leather apron to protect myself, the headphones for hearing protection, safety glasses, and I wear this all the time. When I'm not filming and trying to talk and things of that nature, if I'm running the grinder or pieces of equipment that generate dust, I wear a twin cartridge respirator. So these are points that I want to stress to everyone, that safety is a priority. It should be the #1 priority whenever you're working in the shop. It should always be on your mind. Never work if you're tired or distracted, upset. You know, if you haven't used your tools in 6 months, you know, take a little bit of time to stop and think and remember, okay, what do I need to do to be safe when using this piece of equipment? Even the best of people can get caught by, you know, caught off guard or minor accidents or whatnot. So it's better to always try and be attentive. You know, I know it sounds like preaching, but you know, first time I've cut myself on a bandsaw in my life, and I hope it's the last. You know, I hope nobody feels like I'm preaching at anyone, but safety is extremely important. You know, we all want to be able to come out in the shop, enjoy ourselves, enjoy our lives, and there's nothing worse than, you know, an injury, especially one that, you know, can deteriorate your quality of life, such as missing a finger. You know, we all want to live long, healthy, happy lives. There's a lot of these tools and equipment in the shop that are extremely dangerous. They can injure you very quickly, very easily, and many of them can even kill you. So always, always, always safety number one. Alright, so now that I have the guard kind of roughed out on the bandsaw, I'm going to take it to the grinder here and just kind of clean up some of these sharp edges, knock away some of this other material, and bring it to a little bit of a closer rough shape. Then I'm going to go ahead and take a little bit of a break, go inside, and make a pattern for what I actually want the actual guard size and shape to be. Then come back out here, use that pattern and the grinder to finalize the shape of the guard, at least in terms of the oval profile, and then from there I can start to relieve the area for the finger guard and start doing more of the shaping process with this guard. Alrighty, so there is the kind of roughed out guard shape. So I'll go ahead and, like I said, go inside, lay everything out, make a pattern that'll be symmetrical. Then I'll come back out here, trace the pattern and grind that profile to the final shape and get it nice and symmetrical, even on both sides. And then we can start working on relieving some of this excess material and actually shaping the guard itself. I've got the little pattern for the guard profile made up. It's completely symmetrical. I made a little center line and traced the outline of what I was after, folded the piece of paper in half and cut along one side of the sketch, and that gives you a pattern that is completely symmetrical. Okay, there we go. Our profile is all trued up and pretty well close to symmetrical. It'll be fine-tuned a little bit as I progress with the shaping of the guard, but I do like to start out with a roughly symmetrical shape so that I can kind of keep it symmetrical, keep it looking decent as I work on it. Okay, so the next step is to start laying out where I'm going to be relieving material for your finger relief for the actual finger portion of the guard that comes over to guard your hand. So I like to kind of use my sketch as a rough guide. You can see that I've got the guard stock here approximately the same width as the material in my sketch. So one thing that I'll do is I will come and kind of do a rough visual mark of where I want the actual handle to start, so that I know my rough handle width, and then use that to kind of estimate, as an estimate, to determine how much material to relieve for the actual finger groove. Then it's kind of just a matter of visually transferring those marks and dimensions to the other side so that we have a roughly symmetrical shape. Now this will obviously need quite a bit of refinement over just the rough sketch here. The back here, I think I'm going to modify this sketch a little bit and actually relieve this down a hair. So instead of being straight across, I think I'll give it kind of more of a protrusion along the back. This of course can always be ground down a little bit here and there, but for the most part I think it's closer to what I'm after. Okay, so these lines here represent roughly the material that I'm going to want to remove to start refining this guard down into a little bit closer to the shape that we want. I'm not going to pull off all the material at this point in time, but we'll just slowly get that roughed down a little bit. I actually think this back area I might hold off on just because of the tightness and dimensions, so like I said, I might wait on that. The ultimate goal is to produce a handle that lines up with the thickness of my ricasso here, so it looks like the handle lines flow continuously from the blade. You don't want a handle that's much thicker or wider than your ricasso, and you don't want one that's much thinner than your ricasso, because the flow of the blade, at least in my opinion, perspective, doesn't quite flow as well. So they try and keep these transition areas to line up with the thickness, or the width, I'm sorry, of the ricasso throughout, so you get that nice flowing appearance to your knife. Folks, I've switched to my small wheel attachment. I'm going to use it and a 1-inch contact wheel to start relieving this material from the guard and start to refine its shape a little bit more. I'll usually switch between, you know, this contact wheel, the 1-inch, and my 1/2-inch contact wheel for the various steps, you know, depending on how tight of a radius I want and that sort of thing. But for the moment, we'll stick with the 1-inch contact wheel and start relieving this material.